Hello. In this video, I want to talk about an error that you may encounter while using the SQL Compliance Manager software. The particular error that I want to discuss today is called the SQL trace error. Now, there's going to be a number of different reasons why you may encounter this reason. I am just going to go over the most common reason that most users are probably going to run into. Usually this revolves around permissions, but let me go ahead and show you. So you can see here that I do have two servers registered, two SQL Server instances registered for auditing inside of SQL Compliance Manager. One of the instances reports an OK status, while the other reports the SQL trace error. If you click on the SQL trace error text, it takes you to the administration and the registered SQL Server's view. Here you can see that it automatically selected the Neji 2019, the particular instance that is encountering this error. Under the audit status column, you can see it says to view the activity log. And the activity log can be found on your left-hand side over here or on the tab all over the ribbon. When you go here, you can see that that particular error is already highlighted just because that's the very last item that I have. But if your environment is much larger than mine, you may have to scroll down a little bit before you actually see the actual error. Now, if I go ahead and double click the error, you can see that the details of the error message here indicates that there's an access denied error being encountered by the agent. In my case, I know it's by the agent. Um, and the reason I know this is because the path here shows you the directory where the agent tries to write the file, but the file name here indicates that it's trying to write a temp file, a TMP file. Now, this is a file that I know that the agent tries to write just to kind of ensure that it has access to that directory, but as you can see here, it is denied. So let's go ahead and remedy that problem first. So I'm going to move over to my Neji server. I'm going to open up Windows Explorer and navigate to that trace directory. Now, I know that it's over at C, Program Files, IDERA, and that SQL Compliance Manager in this agent trace directory folder. However, in your environment, it might be a different path. Um, Again, if you're not sure which path, you can always double check the error message and it'll tell you exactly what the path is. So going back here on the agent trace directory, I know that, again, it doesn't have permissions, or the agent doesn't have permissions to this trace files directory. And first, I want to double check to see what account the SQL Compliance Agent is actually running under. So if I open up Services, locate the SQL Compliance Agent, and check out the properties of that particular service, and on the login, I can see that it's running under my IDERA service account. Now, in my particular case, the agent's not actually running. And just so you know, the reason why it's not running is because it tried to write that temp file, it failed, and so the service itself shut down. So first, let's remedy the permissions problem. So I'm going to right click on the agent trace files directory, go to properties, go to security for that folder. And I do see my IDERA service account listed here. However, you can see that the permissions that's been applied is to basically deny everything. So I'm going to go ahead and edit, make sure that I have the IDERA service account selected, and give it full permissions to this particular folder. Click apply, okay, and I'm going to close that properties window. We'll go back to the Windows services and start the agent again. Now, usually what I like to do to kind of make sure everything is okay at this point, or if there's any other errors, I'm going to go ahead and open up Event Viewer. And if you go to Windows Logs and then the application, give it some time to load. Now, first I want to point out the original error. The original error was the access denied. I restarted most recently. You see that it registered. Here, the service, it started it up, gave you the configuration for it, and doesn't appear to be running into that same specific error, but it is running to another error. And this particular error says it could not create the trace file. Before I go into that, let's go back to the SQL Compliance Manager console. I'm going to go back to Explore Activity and notice that it still says that there is a SQL trace error. But if I click on this again and go to the activity log, notice that the error this time is going to be slightly different. In this particular case, it's stating that it's having trouble creating some files that, in particularly, files that we are used to actually capture the audit data that you're looking for. The nice thing about this message is that it gives you a little bit of a hint as to what the underlying problem may be. In this particular case, it thinks that the SQL Server service doesn't have sufficient permissions to that trace directory. So I'm going to go take a look real quick. And so heading back to Neji, I am first going to look at what account my SQL Server service is running under. And if I go to log on, you can see that it is running under a built-in account, specifically the network service account. So what I'm going to do here is look at the properties of this agent trace files directory. Go to security just like before. And in this case, you can see that the network service is not listed. So I am just going to go ahead and add it. First, I do want to make sure that the built-in security principles are turned on. And again, that's because I'm using a built-in account. In your case, you may be using a specific service account, and obviously you'll want to select the appropriate options here for searching. In my case, I am going to go ahead and type in network service, and forgive me, it's been a while since I've done this. Perfect. I wasn't sure if it was going to detect it, but it did detect it. I'm going to click OK here, and again, I'm going to make sure that it has full permissions to that folder. And click Apply, OK, then OK once more, just to make sure those settings were saved. And I am going to come back here to the SQL Compliance Agent and restart that service again. And just like before, I'm going to open up Event Viewer. I'm going to refresh the view, make sure I have the latest entries. And let's see, this is from earlier. And this is, again, the service after it initializes. And you can see that it provides all the details. And I don't see any errors warnings at this point. On that note, I think we're in good shape, but let's go double check in the SQL Compliance Manager console. So I'm going to click Close here, go to Explore Activity, and wouldn't you know it, my Neji server is now reporting an OK status. Now, I do want to point out again that this is simply the most common reason permissions not being granted to the agent trace directory. There are other potential reasons that can result in a SQL trace error. And if you are encountering that error and you've gone through and made sure the permissions are correct, I would highly recommend that you contact our support team to help you investigate why you are running into a SQL trace error. I hope you found this video helpful, and thank you for listening. Have a good one.